All right, so we're just hours away from the debate here on Fox. And President Biden's advisors reportedly crafting jabs to try and get under former President Trump's skin instead of going on policy. Well, let's talk about this. Joining us now, Trey Gowdy, Sunday Night in America host and former South Carolina Congressman. Trey, driving back to the city every Sunday night. Saintly wife and I listen to your show. We have learned to love it. It's fascinating.
Thank you.
So, Trey, the conventional wisdom is swing out, yelling, convicted felon this, lawfare that. What do you think that's... Sometimes the conventional wisdom is very wrong. And I just have the sense that this is going to be very wrong. But I want to hear what Trey Gowdy thinks from South Carolina, which is a relatively polite state.
Well, you have to know who your jury is, what your audience is. I mean, if these two candidates are still working on their bases, then they have problems. I think they ought to be working on undecided voters to the extent there are any, or moderates. Look, when Joe Biden accuses Donald Trump of being a convicted felon, I mean, my response would be, you're right, so is your son. And Joe, you're an unconvicted felon. You're unconvicted because special counsel said you're not even competent to stand trial. So would you rather have someone who was railroaded by a progressive district attorney, or would you rather have someone who doesn't even know enough to understand the charges and be tried? And then I would pivot, Larry, immediately to a mother of 5 who can't even go for a walk, to a nursing student who can't even go for a jog, to a child who was raped, to a child who was strangled to death. I would say, look, I'm not going to make this about me. I'm a billionaire who can defend himself. How about the people who have suffered because of your border and your criminal justice policies? That's what I want to talk about.
Trey, it seems that there are some urging Biden to come out swinging. In fact, they're suggesting both do, in an effort to have the former president throw a tantrum. This is according to an NBC News report where veteran debate advisors are saying such. They say ahead of the first general election debate Thursday, Biden has been holed up at Camp David, Maryland, with advisors scripting put-downs and one-liners that they hope will trigger a tantrum that makes Donald Trump sound unglued. Do you think this is part of the strategy?
It's probably part of the strategy, but I'm sure President Trump knows that also. And President Trump has good facts. I mean, if you have good facts, then you can afford to smile and you don't have to throw tantrums. I mean, I think if I'm his advisor, I'm saying, look, you need to appeal primarily to women voters who may have concerns about your temperament. They may like your agenda, but they don't like the way you communicate. So do not fall for this trap. Smile, laugh it off. The ultimate victory, success is the best revenge.
Yes.
You don't have to win. I mean,
Yes.
The goal is to win in November.
Yes.
Don't win some verbal fight tonight.
Trey, you're 1,000% right. That's the key point. First of all, everybody in Trump land is telling him, don't go overboard, don't get upset, don't go into a tizzy. He knows that. He's a very smart guy, as you well know. But your other point, success is the best revenge. I mean, I think his theme is going to be successful policies on the economy, on inflation, on gasoline prices, on kitchen table issues, on improving wages, on catch and deport to finally close the border, on peace around the world instead of the world being on fire. Successful policies, such as I offered in my first term, will unite the country. Now, if he does that, and Biden goes off on a limb and starts worrying about convicted felonies, I'm going to tell you, it'll be a technical knockout before the end of 90 minutes. That's what's going to happen. And it'll end Joe Biden's career because the Democratic forefathers, they're going to pull him. If Biden doesn't cut it tonight, off with his head. That's what the Democrats are saying. I don't know a thing about it because I haven't been a Democrat in 60 years. But I'm just saying that's what they're saying now.
I would also add everything you just said, Larry, plus staying alive, because there's not a single right we have that is of any benefit if we are left strangled to death because of somebody who is unlawfully in this country. And I would bring it all back to other people. The knock on President Trump is that he tends to focus on himself too much. I would focus on the victims of crime, and I would highlight them and say, look, I'm a big boy. You can do what you want to me, but I'm worried you're going to do it to other people, and you have allowed it to happen to other people.
Maybe by
and
name.
I'll stop it on day one with a really good AG.
Maybe by name, Trey Gowdy.
Rachel
you know
Moore,
I mean? Right.
Lake and Wright,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Amen.
100%.
Trey, thanks for joining us. Good to have you on this big day.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.